Finally, I dedicate this book to all the runners I've encountered on the road, those I've passed, those who've passed me. Without all of you, I never would have kept on running. I've really been trying to push myself into reading more recently and try and make sure that I read every single day, although that doesn't always happen. I really feel so much better when I've read something, mainly because I put down my phone or step away from my computer and actually just read a book, and it just always makes me feel so much better. I do go through phases where I don't read for weeks or months at a time, and it's always really difficult getting back into it, which is why I wanted to keep a consistent routine and pattern. One of the books that I've finished recently is called What I Talk About When I Talk About Running by Murakami. I have read a couple of Murakami's short stories. I've not read any of his full novels really. He's most famous for Norwegian Wood, I think, or After the Quake, or I've read Pinball. And I like him. I know he has kind of a cult following, and I got this because, as well as getting into reading, I've also been trying to get into running, so maybe I thought this would be a bit inspirational. Writers who are blessed with inborn talent can freely write novels no matter what they do or don't do. Like water from a natural spring, the sentences just well up, and with little or no effort these writers can complete a work. Occasionally you'll find someone like that, but unfortunately that category wouldn't include me. I haven't spotted any springs nearby. I have to pound the rock with a chisel and dig out a deep hole before I can locate the source of creativity. To write a novel, I have to drive myself hard physically and use a lot of time and effort. Every time I begin a new novel, I have to dredge out another new, deep hole. But as I've sustained this kind of life over many years, I've become quite efficient, both technically and physically, at opening a hole in the hard rock and locating a new water vein. So as soon as I notice one water source drying up, I can move on right away to another. If people who rely on a natural spring of talent suddenly find they've exhausted their only source, they're in trouble. Murakami started out in his career as owning a jazz bar, which he ran, and he was very, very successful, and he has a big passion for music and jazz. But he sold the bar in 1982, I believe, when he decided to dedicate himself to writing as his full-time profession. And one of the things that he needed to do was to find another way to keep fit, because instead of running around in a bar every night, he was now sat working at home and not really getting a lot of exercise. So he started running, and he runs every day an average of 6 miles a day, which is that same consistent pattern that I was referring to when I'm trying to read every day, although obviously it's not quite as difficult as running 6 miles a day. This book it was published in 2009, but it was mainly written around 2005, in the few months before his New York marathon that he ran, so like the preparation and the training that he was going through. But from 1983 or the early 1980s, he's run a lot of marathons. He ran from Athens to Marathon, which is the original marathon course, only he ran it in reverse. So it would have been Marathon to Athens. And he ran it in the baking hot heat of the Greek midsummer sun, alongside a very, very busy road, whilst a journalist and photographer were driving along next to him so that they could write an article about him. I mean, it sounds like not what I would want to do with my afternoon. But he's done many marathons, he's done ultra marathons, and he's got into triathlons. And so a lot of it is his training prep, but it's also part memoir, and I think more than being something for someone who's interested in running, it would be a book for someone that's interested in Murakami and his writing and his philosophy about writing, which in many ways mirrors his philosophy about running. Exerting yourself to the fullest within your individual limits, that's the essence of running, and a metaphor for life, and for me, for writing as well. I believe many runners would agree. He does talk about things like focus and endurance, and how training is how you sharpen those two necessary skills which you need for both running and writing. So he does draw on parallels between the two activities. I found it quite interesting, this book. It's quite short. It's only, this version is 179 pages, so it's not very long. And like I said, it's mainly focused around the 2005 marathon, but he does kind of jump backwards a little bit and look at some of the other marathons that he's run and the triathlons, his successes, his failures, his disappointments, and so the emotional side of running and exercise, which is so important. And like I said as well, he talks about his own writing, which again is quite interesting. But I did find, I read it and then I got quite inspired to go out and run, which was great, except that then it snowed loads, so I couldn't really actually leave the house. But I enjoyed the book, I thought it was interesting, and I just thought I'd share it with you. So thanks for watching. If you liked the video, give it a like. If you want to see more videos, please subscribe. Bye!